Hello, Adam.
Hi, Ben.
Um, so I have called you here today to see what issues you are having in your life and what changes you might want to make along those lines.
Sure. There's a couple of changes I want to make to my life. A lot of it feels out of my control. I've been looking for a job for a while with no luck. I graduated from my master's program in 2022, and from a couple smaller gigs here and there, I've had a hard time landing a job. So I think when I land a job, then I can actually do some of the other things I want to do, like get my own apartment and whatnot.
So what I'm hearing is that there are a few challenges that you have, but one of the more pertinent ones is finding a job and um, getting your own apartment, and since it's been a couple years from your masters, you're feeling frustrated by this.
Yeah, I would say so. I can definitely look to see what situation my classmates are in for my program, and they're all employed. Um, Perhaps they had connections that I didn't. But I think in general, just getting any kind of job is quite challenging. Sometimes I'm not the right candidate, or I'm overqualified, or there's a bunch of reasons, and I can't necessarily pinpoint what I'm doing wrong. I am getting interviews, but I guess other people are better communicators, so they're better at selling themselves.
And so, what kinds of jobs are you applying for?
Mainly environmental policy jobs or environmental consulting jobs, working on climate issues. It's what I studied in school for my undergrad. And um, and yeah.
Okay. And so, what makes you feel that you're not as good a communicator as possibly some other people applying for this job?
Um, I think sometimes um, it takes me a bit of time to find the right words. I think other people might be a little more succinct. Um, it's hard to say for sure. I always ask for feedback whenever I do get a rejection, but there isn't a clear um, answer um, that I get. So it's just my suspicion, really. I can't really um, know for sure. But I would think that the more aggressive approach that I guess people need to really market themselves is not something that I would consider one of my strong suits.
How would you define an aggressive approach?
Um, I think I think it's really talking yourself up, to really telling the employer that, or the prospective employer, that you're the right person for the job, that you just a certain level of confidence. I think I'm a little more humble, and I think the type of um, more aggressiveness is sort of being direct with what you want. I mean, I think it's clear I do want the job, but sometimes you have to really uh, make a strong case for yourself, and that's not always easy to do.
So what I'm hearing is that you've been going for a lot of interviews, and um, like you, it hasn't been successful, and the part of the reason that you feel that that's happening is that you're not approaching these interviews with enough of an aggressive attitude, with enough gusto and confidence.
I think so. It's weird when if I wasn't getting interviews, I would say, okay, there's something wrong with my cover letter or resume. But I do get interviews. And then a lot of the employers now will do multiple rounds of interviews. So that's just more times that I'm meeting where I have to perform at a certain level. And then sometimes they also give me projects to do, which can be exhausting because you'll do one interview, maybe another interview, and then a project. And you think you're getting close, but then you don't get the position. And anytime I get feedback on a project, it's not anything to do with the quality of the work that I did. It's just another candidate was better suited. That's what they tell me.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And so you mentioned that not having a job impacts your life in other ways, like you want to get an apartment. Like, can you go into more detail about the ways that not having a job has impacted you?
Sure. Yeah. I think that in a way, having a job or not having a job has sort of meant that my life is put on hold. I mean, maybe other people would be more adaptable. I think it's just also difficult. Even if I did get a job, let's say working in retail or at a restaurant, um, I don't know, somehow I have this difficulty to launch and leave my parents' apartment. So because I leave my parents' house rather, and get my own apartment. But the the yeah, I think in a way I can't move on with my life. I can't live my life the way I want to, um, because I'm stuck. And I'm stuck because I don't have a job. And I think it might have been easier to move out and work in retail or other types of jobs, maybe, 30 years ago, when the cost of rent and the cost of living was much lower. But it just feels like if I were to move out, I'd probably be happier, but I think I would also be stressed out a lot, because I'd probably deplete any income I would make on just necessities of life.
Right. Right. So what I'm hearing is that you know there's other options in theory for mitigating some of the challenges that come with the struggle you've had getting a job, but because of local, like current economic kind of circumstances, it just doesn't seem to make sense to make that move right now.
Yeah. And I think it's unfortunate because I think it also means that people in broader society, young people have to spend a lot of time working, and you can't you have to always worry about making ends meet. You can't just make a change at the drop of a hat, because things are expensive.
Right. And so, what parts of, let's say, getting a place, you know, do you see yourself like being able to go out and do more things? Like, how do you see your life changing if you were to per se
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I think I would just be more control. I don't really feel like I'm in control right now. And I think I would have a more fulfilling life. My parents, they live in Toronto, but, it's not exactly um, a lively area. So I think I would live in a more walkable area with restaurants and cafes and things in close proximity. Um, yeah, I think I would just feel like I have more of my own space, and not feel burdened by just being
Mm-hmm.
here. You know,
Right.
sort of being responsible for yourself and doing things on your own terms. I think is
Right.
uh, really important.
Right. And so, I mean, from what I'm hearing, there are just a lot of things, as you mentioned in the beginning, which are outside of your control. Like you just, it's not up to you whether or not you get the job. Um, it's you can do your best, and sometimes things don't work out. Are there things? Do you think there are things that are in your control that you have access to that could make this process a little more bearable, like while you don't have a job and you're living at home?
Yeah, I mean, I think after a while, if you keep on doing the same thing and it doesn't work, then you sort of have to look for um, other ways to get to where you want to go. So I've been working with a career coach who I think uh, has been showing me how to network effectively. And I understand that networking is a big part of landing a position because there's so many people applying to postings. You kind of have to have people that um, which is interesting. I joke to my career coach person that I'm a hunter. I'm a hunter forager. I don't have networking in the DNA. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a that's a yeah, a good one. Yes.
Thanks.
So okay, and when you're working with this person, like, have you started to feel more optimistic about how things are going? Like, has your perspective on things changed at all?
Yeah. I think even before I met with this person, I was doing networking, but maybe not as effectively, or maybe not as direct as I should have been. So I think that it is more of the same of what I've been doing, but at least I have her to work with, and we can go over what are the key things to focus on in these networking meetings. And um, it does seem like I'll network with someone, I'll try and see if there are opportunities or a place I might fit in at that company where they work at. But I'm also looking to see if there's someone in their network who would be open to chatting with me. And so it's easy to get discouraged, but you kind of have to go along with the process of like connecting one person to another and then being connected to someone else. And then hopefully somewhere along the way, someone will say, oh yeah, I know this person who's hiring, or, oh, actually, yeah, we could use another person with your skills on my team. So I I'm trying to stay optimistic. There are definitely moments of despair and exhaustion. When you're like doing interviews or like meeting with people, for as regularly and for as long as I have, it turns into a really grueling Groundhog Day like cycle.
Right. Right.
If you're familiar with the Bill Murray movie Groundhog Day.
Yes. Yes, I do know. So what I'm hearing is that you feel like, meeting with this woman, you know, and doing the networking, like you feel like you're doing your part to do the things that you can control, so to speak. And although, even though you're somewhat there's room for optimism, it's also draining, um, and you said it can make you feel despair as well.
Yeah, all of that is fairly spot on. I think I have to try and stay optimistic, and I think that also means also trying to have a balance in other parts of your life in terms of social and hobbies. And I do like to read a lot.
So tell me
I
more.
think. Oh
Sorry, I
yeah.
didn't mean to cut you off. So tell me more about the hobbies, and the social. Like, do you find that you have, like, when you're in the place of despair, that you have um, good forms of, like, self care and counterbalancing the challenges of what you're going through?
I don't think that I do have a very good balance. It's something that I strive for, but again, it's my parents are always telling me, you shouldn't stay in bed until noon. You should just get up at 6 a.m. and start your day. And that's hard to do because it's kind of like more time I'm spent conscious and aware of my situation. And they don't seem to understand that, which I don't understand. And so right back at you. But I do think that in a way, when I'm more in control, I can like start to expand on the things that I want to do, like, learn to cook or, you know, um, I guess in the summertime, I spend a lot of time gardening, planting stuff. I like growing tomatoes. But social media is definitely something that will suck you in. You can spend lots of hours doom scrolling on Instagram. Um, so it is hard to put up those boundaries when you don't have control or as much control of your life as you want to. Um,
Is,
but
is that what you find yourself doing when you're feeling down? Um, is the doom scrolling?
yeah, yeah, I think so. I think in an ideal world, I would be so busy or stimulated or enriched that I wouldn't really be so drawn or addicted to my phone. Um, but maybe an addiction's an addiction.
Okay. And so, from what I'm hearing, um, you know, there there are times where you have good counterbalancing things, like in the summer you have gardening,
Mm-hmm.
but for when that stops, you kind of lose that hobby, and it's just replaced with doom scrolling.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm trying to think what it is that I do during the winter months. Like, yeah, I guess not as much. I still go biking. I still use the bike to get around. So that's good. But yeah, I think that I just end up the gardening is replaced by just more reading, reading the newspaper and whatnot. And honestly, I think that a lot of my time is spent, doing job stuff. And it is almost as if I can't really let myself have a real break, whether it's to go on a trip or do something more long term. Um, it almost seems like I'm stopping myself until I can actually um, get to my desired goal.
Mm. And so, are there hobbies or perhaps like friends um, that um, that you've wanted, that you've been interested in, that is like something that you have been wanting to do that might be like a more fulfilling or like a better relief for the hardship of this job hunt that you're going through?
It's hard to say exactly. You know, I do think that because my mind is so preoccupied with it that I'll just with the job search that I'll just I won't get to fully enjoy the hobbies or the things that I want to do. It seems like that. I think it's just so connected to the things I want to do. Having a job gives you a sense of confidence, sense of purpose, sense of being needed. I think that's often why I like to help people when they need something. Like I'll help a friend move, or I'll help them write something. Um, and I think that's just it. That does feel good to feel needed when you feel like you're not needed
Mm.
in a career capacity
Okay.
to have purpose.
So, what I'm hearing is that you're having uh, that the hobbies that you might have would feel a little lackluster without the purposiveness that you might feel if you had a job. Um, so I guess my question is: are there other things that you have access to now that could give you purposiveness that isn't a job? Like,
Yeah, I've thought about this, and I think that pursuing volunteer opportunities, whether it's working at an animal shelter or working at a food bank, I think that would be fulfilling. But it does seem strange that I haven't pursued that, and I think it's because I have this weird idea that I need to be spending as much time as possible to my job pursuit. But that doesn't consider the fact that I do get burnt out like anyone else. And so, um, yeah, I do think that it is good to find a better balance than what I have right now.
yeah, as I mean, that's always the irony with burnout is that we think, okay, we need to maximize our productivity, so I don't have time for balance. But the reality
Mm.
is that the balanced way actually leads to a higher level of productivity
Mm.
in the end.
Yeah.
And so I'm wondering, is there perhaps we could make a plan if you're interested in um, what maybe what steps we could take to maybe just like small steps of getting into volunteering, um, and just opening that door, getting your foot in the door, seeing if it's something you like.
Hmm. Yeah, I think that would be great. It's a good idea.
Okay. And so for you, what would be the first step of um, of starting to volunteer?
Maybe I'd look online to see where there's a need and see if there's anything maybe within my part of the city. But I'm willing to travel to other parts of the city. But yeah, looking online to see
Okay.
um, where I can help.
And um, is would there be like a time period that you feel comfortable committing to be able to finish that small step?
Yeah, I think that's something I can do this week.
Okay.
It's something I can definitely research.
Okay. Um, and so, um, okay, I feel like that's a good first step. And like so, on a scale of 1 to 10, how do you feel? What's your confidence in you actually carrying out this plan?
Um, I think it's a 7.
Okay.
It's I have a lot of networking meetings. I guess it's the end of the year and people are, you know, um, finding some time to chat over Zoom. But yeah, this volunteer thing I think is something that
So
I
so
could probably pursue.
so what could make it a 10? Like, would it extending the time frame be helpful?
Mm, I don't know. I think I just have to do it. I think it's a motivation issue. I have to
Okay.
just go for it. And I think that would be good towards me getting out of the house and engaging with other people in real life.
Yeah, and I mean, it sounds like when it comes to networking, you you have the motivation, you have the drive to do it, um, and is there a way to take that motivation, um, and bring it to the volunteering to put it on the same level of importance, or maybe not the same level, perhaps, but
Um,
but I mean, yeah, for your well-being, I guess.
yeah, it's a good question. I don't know. I'm sort of like hyper focused on my job stuff, and I feel like because it's the root of me being stuck, I want to get it solved as quickly as possible. But I think, yeah, given that the year is probably winding down and perhaps some food banks could be in need, um, especially this time of year, I think that that would be a fulfilling thing because it's not necessarily guaranteed that I'll be able to land a job,
Mm-hmm.
a paying job by the end of the year.
Yeah. Well, it sounds to me like you have a good plan for the first small step for um, going into this volunteering,
Mm-hmm.
and that it sounds to me also like you're trying your hardest to make your life what you want it to be, and I think you know um, it will come. And yeah, just keep on keeping on. So that's our time today.
Okay.
So it was good.
Great.
It was good talking, and
Yeah. Thank you.
we'll chat again in a bit to see how your plan is going.
That sounds great. Well, thanks so much.
Okay. Take care.
Okay.